What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are back with my Warzone loadouts for Season 3. Now, I don't usually do it like this late into the season, but honestly, I've kind of been waiting for the meta to, reveal itself and everyone to find the best weapons, but honestly, there really isn't a meta at the moment. There's probably, honestly, about 15, possibly even 20 weapons that you can use right now that all, they're all pretty well balanced. There's obviously some that are better than others and stuff like that, but unlike previous seasons, there's not really like a weapon that you have to be using. So I was kind of waiting for, myself or everyone else in the community to find which was best, but it just hasn't really happened, which is a good thing. Like, I'm really, really excited by that. So today we're going to be going through all of my loadouts here. We're going to start by going through all the perks and all that type of stuff, and then I will get into the actual loadouts for the weapons as well. So these top 6 classes here are all overkill, and this one is actually overkill as well. This one actually has fully loaded on both weapons, so this is just if I land late or something like that and I really need to, get some ammo if I don't have time to loot or something like that. But the rest of these classes, these are all essentially just exactly the same, just, different weapons for each one. So what I run for all of these classes is EOD in the first perk slot. Obviously you want to protect against any explosives and stuff like that. I've obviously got overkill as well, just so you can carry 2 primary weapons. And then the third one is amped, which pretty much just allows you to switch weapons faster, which I always say, it doesn't sound that good, but once you use it, you really cannot go back. And honestly, the rest of these just aren't all that good, to be honest. So amped is pretty much the go-to perk for me. Now, as for lethals, we've got the thermites. These are kind of, they're not necessary. You can kind of run like a Semtex or C4 or even frags. There's kind of a bunch of stuff you can run in here. I just prefer the thermites, mostly because you can throw them so far, and then they do kind of deal constant damage. So if you down someone, you can sort of throw it in there, and if they revive themselves or something like that, they'll end up going down just from that constant damage. So those are my lethals of choice. And then for the secondary, or the tactical, sorry, we've got the heartbeat sensor for these classes anyway. These are the classes that I generally get, earlier on in the games. So I do find that it is pretty good to have a heartbeat sensor early. The thing is that I don't think they're that useful sort of late in the game, and so down at the ghost perks down here, or the ghost classes I should say, I've got the stun grenades instead. These things are extremely overpowered, and honestly I wouldn't mind if they were removed from the game, but yeah, they're definitely very handy to have, especially late game. And so by having them in the ghost class, it just kind of means like I can choose, like if I've got, say, this loadout here and I'm running this all game, and then I get ghost towards the end of the game, or even just at the start, I can kind of choose, because I'll get the stuns from here, or I can just sort of keep the heartbeat that I already had. So that is essentially how I lay out all of the classes. Now we're going to get stuck into the weapons. So the first loadout I have here is the Farah and the Kar98. The Farah is obviously very decent. It did just get a small nerf, but it's still a very, very good weapon. On the actual attachments, I have got the GRU suppressor, the 18.7 inch Spetsnaz barrel, the skeletal stock, the 50 round mag, and then the Spetsnaz grip. So that's what I run for the Farah. And then as for the Kar98, same loadout that I've been using for a couple of months now. I've got the mono suppressor, the Singard custom 27.6 inch barrel, got the tac laser on there, we have the sniper scope, and then the precision comb stock on there as well. So this is a really, really accurate Kar98. It's kind of a weird build because most people use it for, just completely for speed, whereas this is kind of like a midway point between being pretty fast still, but it's also a little bit more accurate. It's a little bit more in line with like the HDR and stuff like that. So that is how I have got my Kar98 loadout. Moving on, we have got the AMAX and the MAC-10, and this is probably one of the best loadouts in the game at the moment, I would say. Both of these did just get a pretty small nerf, but they're both very decent still. And the nerfs were almost like too small that they didn't really change anything at all. So for the AMAX, I have got the mono suppressor, the Zodiac barrel, the 3x optic, the 45 round mags, and then the commando foregrip. As for the MAC-10, I run the agency suppressor, the 5.9 inch task force barrel, the field agent foregrip, the 53 round fast mag, and then I actually run the raider stock as well, just for some fast ADS speed as well as a little bit of quicker movement when you're aiming. Now moving on, we've got the LC10 and the Krig 6, and honestly I would probably say this is, at least for me, this is my best loadout that I have. It's kind of like the old reliable, like I just know that these are probably 2 of the best weapons in the game right now. Like I said, there's not really any specific meta, but I would say that, the LC10 and the Krig 6 are both kind of like at the very least top 3 in each of their classes. So for me personally, this is kind of my main class at the moment. And let's get into the attachment. So the LC10, I've got the agency suppressor, the 13.9 inch task force barrel, the raider stock, again the 52 round fast mag, and then the field agent grip as well. As for the Krig 6, we've got the agency suppressor, the 19.7 inch ranger barrel, the 3x scope, which personally I don't really like that much the Cold War guns, but it is still pretty handy to have. The 60 round fast mag and then the field agent grip as well. Now moving on, we have got the AK-47 and the LC-10. This is a bit of a more random loadout, and I've done a video pretty recently, the Taking Over Verdansk episode 2, I believe it was. Yeah, this is a bit more of a fun loadout. To be honest, the AK is really good, but it's got a lot of recoil, so it's kind of like a hassle to use sometimes. Like it's very inaccurate at times, but it is a lot of fun still. So for the AK, we've got the GRU suppressor, the 18.2 takedown barrel, the 2x scope, because honestly the 3x just has way too much kick. This gun just has so much kick on its own, so having the 3x just makes it even worse. We've got the 60 round fast mag and then the Spetsnaz grip. And as for the LC-10, that is laid out exactly the same as the previous build. Moving on, I've got the Stoner and the Bullfrog, which has not changed from last season. This is another one that's kind of just old reliable. The Stoner is very underused in my opinion. It's probably, I honestly think it's a top 5 weapon in the game. It's absolutely beastly. Has pretty much no recoil. It has the ability to carry a 150 round mag on it, so it's pretty crazy. And then the Bullfrog is really decent. It did also just get a slight nerf a few weeks ago, but yeah, that thing is still very decent as well. So for the Stoner, we have got the agency suppressor, the 2x scope. Once again, just trying to, I don't really use this for super long range or anything like that. This is more of a rebirth class, to be honest, so I don't really use the 3x, but you could definitely use that if you wanted to. We've got the airborne elastic wrap, the 150 round fast mag, and then the field agent grip on there as well. As for the Bullfrog, we have got the GRU suppressor, the 7.4 inch task force barrel, the skeletal stock, the 65 round mag, and then the Spetsnaz grip as well. Now moving on to a bit more of a random class that I've actually just set up in the last few days. This is the M4, the Modern Warfare M4, and the MAC-10. Now I don't know what it is about the M4, but this thing, it honestly feels like it's got a buff. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because the rest of the weapons got a nerf, but this thing just feels deadly at the moment. It's probably one of my favorite guns to use right now, and it is always good to sort of have a bit of a throwback weapon in there as well. So for the M4, we have got the mono suppressor, the stock M16 grenadier barrel, the commando foregrip, and the 60 round mags. And I've actually got fully loaded on this one, mostly because you can run an optic. Like you can obviously run the VLK 3x, which I do like to use sometimes, but honestly it's one of the few guns that I actually really like the iron sights, and so I kind of just take the the gamble there and don't use the optic, and then it just allows me to use fully loaded. So this is kind of the class that I use when maybe I haven't looted enough, maybe we get a really early loadout or something. And yeah, even if you do have ammo, it doesn't really hurt. You can just drop all your ammo for your mates, and then yeah, you can still get fully loaded. So that's what I've got for the M4. And then the MAC-10, I believe, looking at it, yeah, it's exactly the same as the previous one, so I'll just leave that on screen for you guys. That is the exact same loadout as the last MAC-10. Now moving on, we have got the actual fully loaded class. So this has got fully loaded on both weapons, and this is the Kilo and the MP5. Now the reason I'm using both of those as Modern Warfare weapons is obviously just because you need the Modern Warfare weapons for fully loaded, but this is also just kind of a throwback weapon. These are probably my 2 favorite weapons of all time in the game. I think they're both my most used weapons, maybe with the AMAX, and so this is more of a, honestly, just a throwback type of class, and I just, yeah, wanted to have both of these weapons in some sort of classes, so it's good to just have these as the fully loaded ones. So for the MP5, we have got the mono integral suppressor, the collapsible stock, the Merc foregrip, the 45 round mags, and then obviously we've got fully loaded. As for the Kilo, we have got the mono suppressor, the VLK 3x optic, the commando foregrip, the 60 round mags, and then once again fully loaded. Now moving on, we have got a high alert class. So this is a bit random. I think I did mention this in my previous loadout guide as well. I could be wrong, but yeah, I've just been trying out high alert rather than ghost. Sometimes it's a really decent perk, and it is definitely underused. Now as for the weapons, the M4 is exactly the same as the previous one, except for some reason I've got the 50 round, which should not be the case. I've got the 60 round now. And then I've actually got the Psychov pistols now. This was mostly just because I was leveling these up at the time and I was just using this class, but to be honest, it's a pretty decent weapon to have. It did get a nerf obviously, and they're not really, not very decent compared to what they were, but as a backup, yeah, definitely doesn't hurt to have the Psychov pistol, because this thing is still pretty beastly despite that big nerf. For the Psychov, we have got the mono suppressor, the 140mm auto barrel, the 5mm laser, the 80 round drum mag, and then obviously we have got it in akimbo. Now honestly, you could probably remove akimbo now because they nerf that so heavily, and you could actually just run it with fully loaded, which I think I actually made change to that. I don't think I've actually used this class at all since these were nerfed essentially, so yeah, they heavily nerfed the akimbo, so I actually would recommend not running akimbo, and just having that as a secondary pistol is still pretty decent, and you can get fully loaded. So once again, you're getting full SMG SMG ammo, and then obviously you can just use your SMG as well. Now lastly, we have got the 2 ghost classes. These are absolutely identical except for the weapons. Now again, what I've done, I've just got a pistol with fully loaded. I don't use that, that's just so I can pick that up. And let's just say I'm using this class again. It allows me to, with the AMAX, I can get fully loaded on the pistol, which gives me full SMG ammo, and then obviously the AMAX gives me full AR ammo. So that's definitely the best way to set up your ghost class, in my opinion. You don't need necessarily to have like a proper secondary, and honestly most of the pistols aren't anyway. Now what you could do is actually set the pistol up to be essentially just this pistol, because this obviously does have fully loaded, and I'd say the Psychov is probably better than the Glock. So you can set it up that way. I've just got it set up this way because I never use these weapons anyway. Usually if I'm getting Ghost, I've already got an SMG, and this just allows me to get the fully loaded for both of those. Now for the AMAX, it is set up exactly the same, except I think I took the Commando foregrip. Yeah, I took the Commando foregrip off that and just put fully loaded on there. Obviously has a little bit more kick, but yeah, you can get fully loaded, and if you already have an AR, you can obviously just switch back to that anyway. And then for the Mac 10 class, this one doesn't, obviously you can't have fully loaded on a Cold War weapon anyway, but it obviously doesn't need it because you've got fully loaded on this one. So this just means you can have the Mac 10 set up exactly as you already had it, and then this still allows you to get fully loaded. So that right there is how I run all of my classes. I've kind of had the same classes for a while, so I'd imagine by the time I do the next one of these in Season 4, these will probably change up quite a bit, because I'm honestly kind of getting a little bit bored of having the exact same loadouts. Usually I kind of have like these 3 will always be just really random, but they've kind of just stayed the same for a while now. I usually have like 4 up here that are really, really good and really consistent, and then I just have 3 to pretty much mess around with. So I'd imagine the next one of these videos will be fairly different. But that is going to do it for this one, boys and girls. Hopefully this did help you guys out if you are looking for some new loadouts. And if it did help you out, then be sure to leave a like down below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.